Okay, good morning. Hopefully this run works. I'm here to do a video about sports. As you all know, I usually bring on some commentary and some highlights. But I'm going to get away from the highlights today and do a little bit of a commentary. It's been on my mind for the last couple of days. It has to do with these two sprinters, former sprinters who raced in the 1968 Summer Games in Mexico City. That's almost half a decade now since they sprinted. This commentary is about Tommie Smith and John Carlos. Now, as you all know, they won the gold and the bronze medals in their games. But something mysteriously happened. I didn't watch the whole race because I was a little kid by then when I saw it. But they raised their fists, and I was wondering what that was about. They raised their fists in the air, and both of them had white gloves on. I mean, black gloves on. They had black gloves, and I was wondering what was that about. And I read up on it, and found out that they were protesting against segregation and during the civil rights movement way back in the '60s. Now, as you know today, civil rights has done very little for the black communities in the United States, and they never really, nowadays, blacks never really got into economic rights. Well, civil rights came first, but they were protesting against segregation, and I applaud them for that. I mean, I think they showed both Tommie Smith and John Carlos showed a lot of courage, raising their fists up and protesting against segregation in the United States between blacks and whites. I mean, a little bit has changed though. I mean, most African Americans still living below the poverty line, and they still get their rights trampled. But yeah, they don't have any economic rights now. Well, some do. This is due to working for, due to protesting against discrimination in the employment and labor and jobs. But little has been done. But still, it was a moment of sports where they raised their fists, and also not just in the labor market that African Americans or mostly black people are being discriminated against. They're being discriminated against even in sports because most of these sport owners, I mean, most blacks play pro sports like basketball and baseball and football. None of the owners are black. Of course, maybe there are some blacks that are presidents of some sports teams today, but most times, mostly these teams are owned by white Jews. Now, I don't know what these two are doing today, but I think it was John Carlos that got an award for his showing his courage, an ESPY award or something in LA for his courage. And Tommie Smith, I don't know what he got, but he probably got a lot of respect and a standing ovation for his courage. Although those two, because of the protest, they didn't really get any sponsorships from these corporations. But of course, these corporations are only out for one thing, just to make money. They probably wouldn't have helped those two athletes in their particular situations. Because most African Americans, they grew up in poverty and they were slaves in the US. Now I have to say they're still slaves today. I mean, sports can only do so much for these people. And it's the same thing in Africa too. I mean, most blacks in Africa, we have no control of the natural resources. I mean, sports can take us through, but still, we get pimped out just as these African Americans do in America. And Tommie Smith and John Carlos, I applaud them, but still, there's more work to be done. And these two are a prime example of how they've able to protest and got political, which a lot of athletes are not doing today. I mean, a lot of today's athletes are just cooning and they just accept conditions as is, like racism as it is, and all this other nonsense that's going on. I mean, it's just surprising to me that most athletes never come forward and never show the courage that Tommie Smith and John Carlos has did back in the old days, because they want to make money and get all these corporate sponsorships, similar to what Tiger Woods is getting. But they don't realize that these corporations can lay them off or drop them as their clients at any moment for one little mistake they make. And John Carlos and Tommie Smith, they got dropped for that courage, for being courageous of that act that they did. I mean, it's sad. It's sad for especially black athletes to get dropped by corporate sponsorships for showing courage and speaking out against the wrongs in this world. Whereas most athletes, they don't get dropped for not speaking out. Of course, that should be the case. But I don't know. What can I say? What else can I say about this? This video is for John Carlos and Tommie Smith. That's it for sports.